Nation, welcome to the Monday Report. As regular viewers know, each week I present this channel's finely crafted rants, dredging up the often overlooked stories buried deep in the bowels of the most august news agencies, dissecting the context required to find the angles that are too frequently underreported in my quest to consistently bring you the interweb's most furry news source. But Nation, sometimes I dumpster dive into the deep end of mainstream media, foraging around for the fluff if for no other reason than to call out the tripe that is often presented as legitimate information, but is actually distraction in my infrequent segment called Barely News. Now, I won't take credit for this, mostly due to modesty and partly due to reality, but I will say it's a bit coincidental that ever since I began this little show, there's been a sharp increase in bear-centric news stories being circulated by the mainstream media. Most recently is Selfie Bear, a Boulder, Colorado area fuzzbucket who not only tripped a motion capture camera, but then proceeded to pose for it over 400 times. Ugh, what a prima donna. What surprises me is how much attention Selfie Bear has been getting in the news. I mean, I'm not the first you're hearing of this, am I? Come on, media, this is barely news, and you know it. It's like a couple of months ago when Bear 747 won Alaska's Fat Bear Week. Oh sure, we're cute, furry, and some of us have zero impulse control for things like salmon and berries. But running a bracket to determine which the fattest bear was, that's barely news also. He has a name, you know. Yes, and the less said about that, the better, Jimmy. Grrr. Nation, I'm not sure exactly what the human fascination with bears are, particularly when we trip into town, but you folks sure do glom onto these stories as if they mattered, and the only time they provide you anything to learn from is when a bunch of so-called animal control experts come to the bizarre conclusion a trampoline is a good idea to put under a bear in a tree. Ooh. It isn't. And yeah, even that is still barely news. Look, unless one of us is beaten to death by a cop after being pulled over for driving while bear, and that either doesn't happen or never makes headlines, none of this is relevant to your lives. It's just a cute distraction from the insanity of the screaming monkeys in Congress. Oh, now I get it. And now this.
Now we slow things down and watch as the bear's head actually goes between the springs of the trampoline, his nose barely touching the ground. Then he's catapulted back up into the air before landing on the grass. Now Jonkel says the bear will be just fine, and once he recovers from his deep sleep, he'll be released somewhere into the wild tomorrow morning.